and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
On with the new flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Guten Tag, it's Colton.
And it's Jill.
And we are back for another one. Even if this is like the 8th or 9th time I have to say this, you guys will never know. Because Mike is just over there living in abject poverty. That's okay. It Slays podcast doesn't pay a living wage, so we're just all kind of out of luck, I feel.
No, you only get paid in exposure.
And it's usually exposure to Mike's crotch from his webcam, so
there we go.
Indecent exposure.
I feel like it's got to be like comic books where we just got to start referencing stuff from like 3 years ago, and then it's like, check out episode 97 for that editor's note.
Yeah, I think our dream for the show should just be that it's absolutely unlistenable. But it's just a sustained inside joke.
We're halfway there.
Yeah, that's right. But yes, we're back. Even though it seems like most of us snowed in, not me yet. It will be me tomorrow. And I would assume most people that are snowed in have come off of already, spent 2 weeks listening to our amazing episodes on The Strangers and Whistle that have definitely been out for weeks on end.
Oh, yeah. Recorded weeks ago before I went to Germany, of course.
Of course. But you know what we're going to start with, people. We're going to start with what we've been consuming, what we've been watching, what we've been reading, what we've been listening to, all that good stuff. Colton, you just got back from Berlin.
Yeah, Berlinale.
Berlin.
I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. I was over there and everybody pronounced it differently, but I'm pretty sure it's Berlinale. But yeah, just I accompanied a producer overseas to the European film market and just kind of, I think, to add some legitimacy to his business, because obviously in the film industry there's loads of small production houses that are just like a single proprietorship where there's just one producer. So I went over, just kind of helped him out, keeping him on track with his schedule and, making a bunch of meetings and whatnot. But when I was over there, I also got to check out the Berlinale Film Festival. So I think I saw like half a dozen movies there. I won't talk about them all because I don't know if they all warrant lip service or kind of like wasting the listeners' time on the show. I guess if you really want to see what I gave scores to, the ratings, you can just check out my Letterboxd. But yeah, for me, it was the first time ever on a transatlantic flight. Notoriously, I'm one of those people that I get airsick. I would say about 30% of the time when I'm on a plane, I'll throw up, but 70% of the time I'm kind of good for it. So yeah, this was like, I had to make sure I was all drugged up to get across there. I took like 2 Gravol, I took 2 NyQuil, I just, or Z-Quil, whatever. And essentially I was like, whatever I can do to like medically induce myself into a coma to get across the Atlantic Ocean is fine by me. So I had a night of just brutal, broken sleep. And then on the way back, it was like a flight during the daytime, which was a nightmare because I couldn't sleep. But thankfully, no vomiting on the planes. So that's great. Yeah, but I checked out some
really
movies.
wants to get in the weeds with this.
With what?
What the consistency of any fluids that came out of you.
What's coming out of you?
Well, I mean, like I said, there was no vomiting this time, but I mean, most of the time on planes, it's just absolutely disgusting. It's just, bile, because I'm so nervous. I don't want to eat beforehand, and it's just Gravol, and it's good stuff,
At least it's a good producer that didn't, ask you if you want to join the Mile High Club since you were all drugged up. So this could have been
True,
a bad company.
Didn't take advantage of me, thank God. But yeah, anyways, movies that I saw at Berlinale. The first one that's probably worth talking about is the one that I thought was going to win the Silver Bear or the Golden Bear, whatever the festival's big award is. Instead, it just won like the Best Actress award. It's Rose, and it stars Sandra Hüller. It's a German film that essentially takes place in the 1600s. And it's kind of like a queer drama, I guess. Romance would be too strong of a word for it, but essentially she's posing as a man back in the 1600s because she wants to fight in the war, but also just because she wants to have the respect that comes with wearing pants instead of a dress in that society. So she fights in the war, is injured, returns to a homestead that she believes is hers, and she kind of tries to make a life for herself there. Eventually has to go through the motions of, marrying a nice woman in the town and kind of settling down. And then it's kind of the drama that spirals from there on out about people kind of thinking that she's a woman. And of course, all the atrocities that might come from that day and age if you're closeted, woman, married to a woman in that society. So it was just a good period piece. It's black and white. Beautifully shot. The lead actress, Sandra Hüller, is amazing in it. And it was just one of those that when I saw a couple of bad movies, it was one that I can kind of like focus on and be like, oh, this was actually good after seeing a couple of stinkers. Well, I guess I'll continue with the good. The next thing I saw was Mouse, which was a little movie that wasn't on my radar before I got over to Berlin. But then it was one of the few things at the festival that I saw that was pretty much unanimously getting 4 stars on Letterboxd or what have you. It's by, I think, the creative team behind a little movie called Ghostlight a couple of years ago. Rowan's nodding. I'm not sure if he's familiar with it or not, but
that was a nod where you just you pretend you know what's going on. You're like, okay,
okay, gotcha. But Ghostlight, it was an interesting little movie because I think it's Canadian, but if it's not, it definitely has a father, daughter, and mother that are all playing this family unit in the movie, but they're actually, a family in real life as well. So there was kind of some of that bleeding over into the performances. And that movie, if I remember correctly, was kind of like this gruff construction worker that loses his job and finds comfort in this small theater program. Then he's kind of embarrassed that he's enrolled in this, but it's kind of like helping him work through, kind of this aimless point in his life. That I thought it was pretty good. It was just this small little drama. Similarly, so Mouse is kind of in the same vein where the father is no longer in the picture for this movie, but it's still the same daughter and the mother. And this movie is based around kind of the last year of high school. And when they're going into it, one of her best friends dies, and it kind of winds up being this movie about trying to work through grief as a teenager, but also as the mother in losing your daughter. And then basically this, friendship building between the teenager in the movie and the mother. And I thought it was just a really good, kind of look into this tragic event and just playing out in this little indie drama that, you would see at something like Sundance or whatnot. All the performances were really good. Obviously, it's a bit of a tearjerker. And it seemed like my audience really responded to it. We had a Q&A afterwards with probably 10 of the cast in attendance. And the Q&A was really good where they actually asked everybody a question, where loads of times you go to Q&As, they'll ask the lead a question and then they'll have 8 people just stood there silently, where Mouse, whoever was moderating, made sure to have questions for all the actors, the producers, the director, everybody around. So it was just a good evening in Berlin that, taken in this little indie drama that I really enjoyed. It's definitely worth checking out, later in the year when it actually gets a release. The first thing I saw at the festival was Gore Verbinski's new movie, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, which I think is just in theaters over here anyways, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's in my opinion, it's not very good. I thought it was pretty bad. It's basically Sam Rockwell time traveling from the future to come back to now to tell us that essentially if we don't stop the uprising of AI, we're going to lead to our own destruction. And essentially he's trying to form a tactical unit, 5 to 6 people out of a group of 40 people in this little diner. So it's a very zany premise. And the movie, in my opinion, is so zany and whimsical that it's just nails on a chalkboard, essentially, the whole time. I felt all the performances were just rung false to me. It tries to do this weapons thing of cutting around to different key characters by cutting to Rowan, and it'll be a black screen. It'll say Rowan, and we'll follow him for 20 minutes to kind of give us more backstory on Rowan. And, so then we actually care about it. But in the actual flow of the movie, they don't do anything to kind of make their characters important. It also felt like a bit of The Walking Dead to me, where they flesh out a character shortly before killing them because they're oh, yeah, if you just kill them off in the main movie, no one will care because we didn't actually do the work. It felt like a screenwriting cheat, or it just wasn't well fleshed out to me. And a lot of the AI stuff in the movie I didn't think really worked at all. Like, obviously, there's I would assume no generative AI in the movie, but it's just like that, I don't know, it's like internet humor from like 15 years ago. It's like, wouldn't it be crazy if a cat vomited rainbows? And it's like, I just don't care to see this in a movie in 2026. It very much felt like a hello fellow kids energy that it just didn't work for me. A lot of people are comparing it to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I do think it's a fair comparison, and just in terms of the zaniness. No, yeah, one of your favorites, right, Rowan?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. In terms of like the zaniness and how crazy it is at times, but I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once has a lot of heart to it, where this just very much felt stupid a lot of the time. So I very much didn't enjoy it. I really liked Gore Verbinski's last movie, A Cure for Wellness. That was probably almost 10 years ago. But this one just didn't land for me whatsoever. And then the last thing that's kind of worth talking about that I saw at the Berlinale Film Festival was a horror movie called Saccharine. It premiered at Sundance, and this was described as like a eating disorder horror movie.
I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, so I was interested going into it just because as someone who's kind of always struggled with dieting or binge eating or whatever, just trying to,
eating 2-year-old
regulate your
packages of
weight
soup, yeah.
to some degree. I was like, all right, let's see, what a elevated horror take on this is, So yeah, it's basically the horror of Ozempic. But when you're taking Ozempic, a ghost follows you, and it's a hungry ghost, a big, fat, hungry ghost. And, yeah, I was just kind of stupid as well.
I just wrote it down because it sounded good.
No, it's not very good.
This is going to be really random. I'm pretty sure I heard it because, like, you know how, like, people on, like, X or whatever, like, you'll just get, your email will just get put into, like, mailing chains and stuff, like marketing chains. So mine, I take it like from the podcast because it comes with the podcast email. I always get emails about like interview requests, screenings and stuff, but it's like a UK company that has flagged us as a UK podcast.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's always like, are you guys interested in like interviewing this person for like that stars in this movie? And like it's all like it's UK only and it's all like UK release dates, but I think that was like one of the emails I got because I was going to delete them.
Yeah,
so.
that would make sense. That would time out appropriately. But yeah, for me, it's a cool premise, and it kind of works for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then anybody seeing this movie, once they overly explain how everything works and what's exactly in this Ozempic in the movie and how does that attract a ghost and just how far it pushes everything to just strain credibility in the movie, but just it's all the explanations are unsatisfying and just kind of stupid that, it completely lost me by the third act. Well, it lost me before that. I was kind of checked out about, halfway through. But, it's definitely like a cool premise that I wish they did well. And if they maintained the tone of like the first 15, 20 minutes, it actually probably would have been pretty good. But it just winds up just being too stupid. So, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. And then the last thing I checked out, not at Berlinale, but I did walk 50 minutes in the rain to go see Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights, starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. It was the sort of thing where I was there and I wanted to see a movie and the festival hadn't started yet, and this was just kind of making the rounds and everyone had an opinion on it. So I searched up like an English theater that screens movies in its original language, and it was like an hour walk. And I was like, I have time. I'll walk it. Now, I don't know if it was worth walking an hour in the rain to see the movie, but I did enjoy it. I'm one of those people, like, listen, I haven't read Wuthering Heights. Apparently, if you read it, it's complete bastardization. And, it like makes you sympathize with characters that it's like, oh, that's the rapist in the book. But, he's a good guy in this movie. Or it's like completely misunderstanding the villains of it. And, the movie itself, even if you watch the trailer, obviously this is in a very much kind of heightened reality, like surreal world. I mean, all the costuming doesn't make sense. Just when you look at the villa or the front kind of facade of the building they live in, it's like I don't know, like avant-garde architecture that it just almost looks like a single slab of a wall. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So if you go into this movie and you're expecting a period piece, I mean, I don't even know how you got there to begin with, because the marketing has been anything but. I mean, it's like Charlie XCX movies with Margot Robbie walking around in a plastic dress or something, you know? But for just kind of like this sensual, kind of horny romance movie that's coming out around Valentine's Day, that basically you just want to see people kind of leering at each other and tugging on each other's like corsets or, you know, tightly woven, I don't know, a doublet or whatever dudes wear. I mean, it does a lot of that. So I was like, okay, it's kind of given me what I felt like the audience, you know, sold out crowd wanted to see. And I did actually like just some of the score and, you know, needle drops. Even if it is like a Charlie XCX song or whatever, it's like it kind of fit the vibe of the movie that you were seeing at the time. So yeah, it's like an interesting experiment. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these romantic period pieces anyway, so I'm completely fine to see one kind of get chopped and screwed and messed with in a bunch of different ways. And I still thought like the cinematography was excellent. You know, Saltburn was excellent. You know, this guy knows how to shoot a movie. And I like Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. I thought they were both good. And especially with what they're supposed to be doing in the movie, which is mostly just being eye candy or like titillating people. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It's not as good as Saltburn or, you know, Promising Young Woman, but I don't know. I don't get all the hate for it unless you're a book reader, I guess, or, you know, very much if this was like one of your favorite books to see it completely bastardized, maybe I could understand. But as just a movie watcher, I enjoyed it. My feet hurt the next day, which made me regret it a little bit. But yeah, Wuthering Heights. Goodbye Me.
I want to see that one. So
yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. That's pretty much it for me. Jill, what have you been watching or consuming?
Okay, well, I'll start off with I watched for the first time 1990's Night of the Living Dead, the Tom Savini remake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw your
favorite
review.
of Colton's mom.
Babes only.
Yeah, I was the whole time I was watching
kind of
it.
weird. What was that
I was
about the
thinking
movie?
about your mom.
I said Colton's favorite movie, and you said Babes only.
God.
Jeez.
No, it was just like it was so obvious when you watch the movie that they just cast like actors, you know, actor types in it, not like the original Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, after just watching the original and reviewing it for the podcast not too long ago, it's kind of why I chose this one. It was my pick for Straight Jacket Talk. I like to coordinate my picks on both podcasts as much as I can. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to finally check out.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just throw wrenches in other people's picks.
We're still crusty over Poltergeist. Just pick Poltergeist.
I am, man. I saw a clip from a, you know, some YouTube video I was watching the other day, and they were like, "Oh, it's like Poltergeist." Oh, it was a trivia show by Red Letter Media. They one of their first questions was about Poltergeist, and it's been like 15 years since I've seen Poltergeist, so I didn't know the reference and what they were getting at. And it looked like a completely new movie to me. And I was just thinking, imagine if I watched that a month ago.
Imagine.
I was fresh. And I knew the answer, how much that would have hit. Anyways.
I love that I took that from you.
Yeah.
That's my one win in life here.
Anyways, the remake.
Yeah, the remake. So I was constantly comparing it to the original, which I bumped it up on my Letterboxd top 5, actually. I removed Midsummer and I put Night of the Living Dead in its place because I feel like
the original, right?
The original, yes. Sorry,
okay,
the original.
Yes, all right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, big news here over here. So yeah, it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Favorite movies of all time. So it was kind of a hard watch for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was very conflicted the whole time watching it. Did you feel the same way, Colton, or no?
Listen, I thought it was very much the original was far superior in just about every single way.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of as its own 90s horror movie, I thought it was good. You know, it had good gore effects and it kind of remade a lot of key moments from the original, but then also made it its own, especially in the latter half of the movie where there's a bunch of different diversions. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was good or okay, but certainly not like a masterpiece or anything like the first one.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Like I said, I had these ambivalent feelings because I love Tom Savini as well. I love his special effects work. I never really saw him direct anything before. I think this might be my first like glimpse into his career there. And I know that he wasn't able to be a part of the original Night of the Living Dead because he was over in Vietnam. So I'm happy that he got his moment to be a part of it. That's cool. And he definitely reshaped the movie for a more contemporary audience, especially one in the 90s with like the rise of action movies, like mixing with horror, like Alien, Terminator. And you really see that bleed over into the total remake of Barbara, which I'm sure you were happy about, Colton, because you hated the original Barbara.
So, yeah, like we don't have to relitigate Night of the Living Dead, but I just I hate what they do with Barbara in the original, where she is such a competent heroine for the first 15 minutes, and I'm like, this woman's a badass, and actually can like effectively convey that she's terrified and stuff like that, and I liked following that character. And then she's catatonic for the rest of the movie because they just don't know what to do with her. Now, I don't know if I like the Ellen Ripley girl boss badass Barbara either. There is a real Barbara somewhere in the middle that I think would have been more effective. But yeah, I mean, they do a lot more with that character in this movie. I don't know if it's much better. Maybe that might be one of the sole things about the movie that might be slightly better, I guess, that she's more of a character, but I don't like how that, you know, ripples across all the other choices in the movie, especially the ending.
Yeah, definitely. I think I might be in the marginalized side of my hot take on this because I love the original Barbara and I have to defend her a little bit. I like that it's kind of realistic, and I'm not saying that like all women are going to act like Barbara, but I think it gives you like variation of people's different responses to trauma and like fear. And I don't know, some people, they just freeze, and I kind of like that about her. I think it's like, I don't think it's done too much in the way that it was done with her. So I thought it was like interesting and kind of refreshing. I don't know. I also don't see it as like sexist either, because I think she's empowering in her own way. She kind of sacrifices herself to save Helen when she dies there. I don't know. I really like her character, and I was kind of angry watching this one because I was like, why does she have to become like masculine, right, in order to be empowering? And it kind of just took away like a lot of the meaning of the movie for me, because she becomes like this final girl type of character. And I just don't believe that the same girl in the cemetery at the beginning of the movie is the same girl brandishing a gun at the end of it. Like, it's just, it happens too quickly, and I just don't believe it. And also, I feel like it takes away from the powerful Ben moment in the first one at the end, where he's supposed to die, and it just like no one survives. And I like how bleak that ending is, especially with kind of like the racial tones and this happening in the 60s, in the height of the civil rights movement. So whether it's intentional or not, whatever, but I really like that with Ben. And then with this one, I feel like they just took that away from him. I think he looks cool as a zombie, but they took him away, my boy. But I really love Tony Todd in this role. I think he smashes it. I love Tony Todd in anything. He's so handsome, and I would I would definitely like stick with him if I were in the zombie apocalypse. I would do whatever Ben told me to do. Both Bens, they're both hot. But I don't know.
I was wondering where that was going, and you're like, I would die.
I thought
for
she was
him.
just gonna say I would and just stop.
I would. The other thing I didn't understand is, why did they change Karen, the little girl's name, to freaking Sarah? And why is she like 6 years older than the original character? And you don't really see her eating her mom. And I feel like Tom Savini could have had so much fun.
So much of that basement sequence, and just some of the horror in the original that I didn't like as well.
Yeah. So I'm shitting on it a lot. I thought it was an okay movie, though. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, possibly, on Letterboxd.
That's what I gave it as well at the end of the day. So we're kind of
She thought it was just
Annoying.
okay. She gave it a slay, but
It's hard because it has to exist in the same vacuum as the original because it exists because of the original, but it's so hard for me to separate them. But as its own, just like zombie 90s movie, I think it's pretty competent, and I like the
Oh,
variation.
and you also watch them like a couple weeks apart, right?
Yeah.
Like not with 20 years of separation.
True.
Like most people would have been seeing these movies, right?
Uh-huh.
Like that was the hard thing for me. I watched them only a couple days apart. So it was a lot of it I could just pick like, oh, this is pretty faithful, and then every single little deviation I go, oh, is that a good idea or a bad idea? And just by the end of the movie, it leans more towards bad ideas.
I think we're due for another remake. Just kidding. I don't think they should ever remake that movie again because it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. Okay, the other things I watched. I went to the theater and big watch of the year. Finally saw Whistle. And hopefully sometime this year we'll have a double feature of Now Slaying, Whistle, and Strangers Chapter 3
we can make
out.
a guarantee that it'll be out before December 25th.
I hope so.
It's going to get pushed on to me, and we're going to have to talk about it on Late to the Slaughter in, 10 months' time.
No, I'm going to go see it on Tuesday after the snowstorm, and we'll get it out eventually. So, but Whistle, I won't say much about it, but I'll say that I was surprised because I was cursing for like a week straight, Rowan, for making me go see this dumb movie I've never heard of, and I was just mad about it. And then I went to go see it, and I actually had a pretty good time. So.
Nice.
You gotta have faith, Another big watch for me, Spree.
Oh, get out of here.
Have to prime that one for
the
Colton.
5-star review of that on Letterboxd made my blood boil when I saw that.
You gave it 4 stars, Colton. What do you mean?
I know, but 5-star is, that's like a masterpiece of a movie.
I think it is a masterpiece.
Spree's entertaining. A masterpiece?
An entertaining masterpiece.
You've got like Night of the Living Dead, The Shining, Halloween, Spree, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Oh my.
Well, you have to put it into context. There's movies that are like classic 5-star movies. And to me, there's like little kind of trash pieces that are 5-star movies because of my experience with them. And I just find them delightful, and I had a great time watching it. And this falls in that category. I should start like tagging my movies, my 5-star ratings. Like, this is this type of 5-star rating. But Spree, I had never heard of it. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't read a synopsis or anything. So I went into this totally blind. And I watched it on Valentine's Day after, like, I had a whole marathon of movies. And this was the very last one I watched late at night. And I should have been burnt out by this point, but I was not, because I was just so invested in this movie. You get a little cameo from Frankie Grande, which I think is like the funniest thing ever. I'm so sad Mike's not here to talk about it, but
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Mike. But yeah, I don't know, it's a wild ride. It goes all over the place. I love Joe Keery, and he's fantastic in this. And also you got David Arquette, which is like the most unexpected thing in this movie for me also, and I love him. He's great. So yeah, I don't know, if you just want something fun, go on Shudder and watch Spree. I think it's pretty fun. And the premise of it, I'll just say, is this like Uber driver, but they call it Spree over there in this universe, and he's trying to go viral unsuccessfully online, and so he puts a bunch of cameras in his vehicle and drives people around, and it flips a switch at a certain point and gets kind of bloody. That's what I'll say. Okay, then I'll kind of rapid fire the other things I saw. I did a rewatch of My Bloody Valentine, of course, on Valentine's Day.
Nice.
You gotta.
What one?
The only one that matters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not is it the 2009 3D?
3D remake.
Yeah. I didn't mind that one, I don't think too much, but you can't beat the original My Bloody Valentine. That's also a 5-star movie for me, as in a classic 5-star watch.
Yeah, that one's not quite as offensive to me, just because at least it is a classic and it's also Canadian, so.
Exactly. I love it. Another rewatch on Valentine's Day. I feel like this is very steamy. Suitable Flesh. Have you guys seen that one before?
It was on my watch list a couple of years ago, but a friend of mine watched it and they said it was really boring, so I took it off.
I have it on DVD, but I've never watched it.
Okay. I've seen this movie so many times. I don't know why. It's like whenever I go to my friend's house, they put it on I think they put it on twice. And then I think me and Anthony have put it on a couple of times too. But we don't ever fully pay attention to it. So this one, we did fully pay attention to it. And it's wild.
This is the Heather Graham one, right?
Mm-hmm. It's exhausting. It's exhausting is what I'll say, because it just goes on and on and on. I think it's a long movie, and the same things keep happening. It kind of reminded me a little bit of In the Mouth of Madness, because you have the psychiatric unit setting. It's pretty decent. I think I gave it 3 stars. If you have time to sit down and watch it, it's okay. But...
So on Colton's metric, this is like a 1/2-star movie. When you compare Jill to Colton's ratings, that 3 stars, half a star, 1 star.
Sometimes me and Colton are on the same page.
It's probably more like a 2-star Colton rating, I would think.
There you go.
But just looking at the reviews for this on Letterboxd, so Mike reviewed it and he gave it 3 stars. And in the comments, one Rowan Fraser, I need to watch this ASAP.
Yeah, I do want to watch it.
How long ago was that?
It. Probably when
Over
I bought
a year
it.
ago. Yeah. Almost 2 years ago, actually. We're a week away from 2 years ago.
You and Exilio should have a date night and put it on. Have a glass of wine.
There we go.
And then the last one I watched on Valentine's Day in my little marathon was another movie that was featured on Shudder for Valentine's Day, Nina Forever. I don't think any of you guys had seen it on Letterboxd. It's a British movie. It's kind of a dark comedy meets horror situation with very British dry humor. And the premise is that this young paramedic student, this guy she works with at a grocery store, his girlfriend gets into a car accident and dies, and he's grieving, and she's very attracted to his grief, and then she starts dating him, and then they get together, they hook up, and then while they're hooking up, blood fills the bed sheets, and then his dead girlfriend pops out, and she's really mad that he's moved on, and this keeps happening. And I don't know, I thought it was really crazy and zany and out there, but it was entertaining. I think I also gave it 3 stars. A good Valentine's Day watch, also, I'll say, and just a really interesting concept.
Glancing at the poster for this one, I thought it was a mime, and I was like, man, that's interesting. This mime romance horror movie.
She does look like a mime because of the lips and the eyes.
Yeah, but I guess just reanimated, not a mime.
And a couple other watches. I started a movie night tradition weekly over here with Anthony because I was complaining that I never get free time anymore to watch movies for fun. So every week we're going to have a movie night. We rotate picks. So he picked John Carpenter's Vampires.
Nice.
It was my first time watching it. It was okay.
Starring
Not my favorite.
problematic James Woods before he's problematic.
He's the worst part of the movie, I will say. I hate him as a main character. But I love the Valak vampire. I think he's pretty hot. I like the different take on vampires. It's hard for me because I need my vampires to be Anne Rice. We always talk about this when we talk about the more westernized cowboy vampires. And it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. And
are you guys gonna watch all the rest of them? There was I think there was 2 or 3 direct-to-video spin-offs.
Oh, hell no. I hope not. I hope he doesn't pick those.
I think there's at least one, but I feel like they did more of them. I know I have the second one on a VHS, but I don't know if it came out in anything else.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good on one and done with that one. Not my favorite John Carpenter. I finally watched Begonia.
Yes. I've been waiting
on that
just
train.
to hear what you think about it.
Right. So my friend Steve, he's responsible for showing me a lot of good movies that I've seen. and he watched this one. He couldn't stop talking about it. He had rented it. I went over to his house to hang out. He rented it again just to watch it and see my reaction. And I had kind of said that I knew what was going on, something about aliens, because I was just listening to you guys talk about it. And
did we spoil that when we were discussing it?
Kinda, but not really, because it doesn't really spoil it, because in the movie you don't know what's going to happen. It's going to go back and forth. Like, you find out that Emma Stone's character.
Let's not spoil the specifics of it if we haven't spoiled it already. But yeah, that's what the whole movie's predicated on, trying to figure out.
Unlike some people, we don't get any angry YouTube comments about it, so.
Oh my God. No, I won't spoil it. I'm going to just give the quick movie synopsis.
Yeah.
Back of the movie sort of deal. So Emma Stone's character, she's this boss bitch CEO. She gets kidnapped by these hick incels who are convinced that she's an alien, and they hold her hostage. And it was really good. I think I gave it 4 stars, but I think I might bump it up a little bit because I've had time to think about it and let it marinate a little bit. But I really enjoyed it, and I just kept going back and forth. Is she an alien? Is she not an alien? I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was just kind of delightful.
Did you think Jesse Plemons was delightful? He's one of my favorite underrated actors.
You know what's so funny? You literally sat here and talked about it and talked about Jesse Plemons being in this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Meth Damon. We talked about this last episode.
Because Mike didn't know who it was.
Yeah, that's right.
And I forgot that he was in it. And for half of the movie, I didn't recognize him because he looks so different.
Yeah.
With the facial hair and the long hair. So, yeah, he was fantastic. Mm-hmm. What a performance from him and Emma Stone. But I love Emma Stone and everything. I don't think she can do any wrong.
Fair.
But yeah, that was a good one. I think I like it more than Poor Things, which is the only other one I've seen.
Oh, God. You have so much Yorgos Lanthimos to watch then.
Know.
I thought about picking Killing of a Sacred Deer for this show so many times, and maybe I will. It's just one of those, in retrospect, I don't know if it fully fits horror, but I mean, we do that quite often. I mean, we're doing it tonight, so, maybe I just go ahead and pick that one of these days.
I think Army of Darkness is horror. We'll talk about that later. Last thing I'll talk about, last night, when I was going to bed, I put on 28 Years Later, just to put on something to kind of fall asleep to. And
big dongs flopping around, putting you to bed.
Yes. Well, I was thinking, did I say 28 Years Later?
You did, yeah.
Let me start over. I put on 28 Days Later. Excuse me. It was on Shudder. And it's been a while since I saw it. I think the last time I saw it was when we reviewed it on the show. And when we were reviewing 28 Years Later, Bone Temple, I think I was having trouble trying to remember and connect it to the original and the tone of the original. But the music and the tone are very much there, and they kind of do similar things, the dynamics between other survivors you meet, and then running into little societies that have just gone off and become totally chaotic. And so yeah, it was a nice little watch. But that's all I've been up to. Rowan, what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, we can address the elephant in the room now, right?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't throw
Where's
it to Mike. Mike's laptop died pretty much when we started. And I think it might be a real death. I don't know. So
he was definitely quite
computer?
somber.
Yeah.
when he couldn't record this episode, that's for sure.
We'll remember him as a good castmate on with us, and it was fun to have him on all these years. No, he'll get his laptop fixed, or a new laptop. He'll be back, I'm sure, next episode. Oh my God, I'm going to take the Jill spot now. I actually read and finished a book all in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
It's not that impressive, but I've crossed over because I was like, how nerdy can I possibly get? And I've read my first manga book, and
oh my God, I'm so disgusted. Anyways,
I am sorry. Well, I should say second. I've read Akira before, but I feel like everyone reads Akira.
I haven't.
Well, there you go. You got to read it. So I finished volume 1 of Chainsaw Man, just because I know a lot of guys I work with read manga, and they were just like, oh, you're a big horror guy, you'd really be into this. And so far, I am kind of into it. It's kind of cool. A guy with a chainsaw head that's actually a dog with a chainsaw head. They just like combined. And it's just like devils killing devils because they populate the world just with humans. And it's like bloody. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
It's really cool if you're 15.
Yeah. I'm just edgy like that, guys.
Edgy and edging to Chainsaw Man.
And I have been watching a little bit of TV. I'm going hard on the X-Files right now. I'm pretty much almost done. I got a couple episodes left of season 4, so I'm excited to get done that. And I've been revisiting like a classic from when I was 20. I don't think I think they've reemerged now, so that's why I kind of thought about it. But is the Comedy Central show Reno 9/11? They've basically just they've started to make new episodes. All the people.
I think it's Reno 911.
Is it 911 9/11?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not about 9/11, is it? It's not like the Twin Towers and hijacking. I don't think
that would be. That's what they should make the new stuff about. But yeah. Reno 911. So I've gone back to another favorite service of mine, like Tubi, is Pluto, but they have all the Comedy Central shows. So I've like gone back to the beginning. I'm just rewatching that. But for movies, I get to watch some stuff I wanted to watch and some Oscar stuff. Just real quick, I watched Retirement Plan and The Three Sisters, which were 2 animated shorts for the Oscars. They were fine. They weren't like anything incredible. Then I got to check out 2 live action shorts. Both I really liked. One was called Two People Exchanging Saliva. That one's directed by Natalie Moustastat and Alexandre Singh. It's French, I believe, and it's pretty cool. It's like dystopian about people that live in a world where there's no money. It's actually slaps. So like when you buy stuff, you know, if you buy a purse, it might be worth 50 slaps, and then the service worker gets to just slap the shit out of you 50 times. So like rich people are kind of marked by their faces just like black and blue. And it's also a society where you're not allowed to kiss. Like intimate touching is banned. So, you know, it's just like it's pretty cool. It's like 20 minutes long. It's like a love story.
Does the service worker put like leather gloves on or something so they don't just beat the shit out of their hand? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just thinking about the service workers.
They have like gloves specifically they put on, and yeah, it's like a love story, but I really liked it. It's black and white. It's shot really nice. I don't even think I've really seen like a bad review on it. It seems like everyone's really enjoyed this. Another one I watched that I really enjoyed called Perfectly Estrangeness, which is Canadian. They shot it, I think, like in Mexico or in the States or somewhere. It's basically follows 3 or 4 donkeys. And they're just walking around an abandoned, what do you call, you know, when you like, you use the telescopes, the stargaze or whatever. Observatory, that's what I'm trying to think.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's just them walking around this abandoned observatory and being around like this equipment, and, you know, like sometimes their eyes catch the thing you look into, and it's like, you know, the universe opening to these donkeys, and there's like no talking. It's really good if you're on drugs, because it's just like really out there. But I'm a sucker, like, it's real donkeys, like, they're cute. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and it's just kind of trippy. And I really enjoyed that. For some other Oscar stuff, I watched The Devil is Busy, which, this was a super interesting. This was one of, the documentary shorts that follows a security guard that works at an abortion clinic in one of the states that isn't illegal, and it's just about the crazy shit she's got to do. Like, she's got to show up at like 4:30, and she has to like check the whole building for like bombs and shooters, and, you know, she like knows the guy that protests outside by first name. He's there every day, all day in the morning, and like, you know, just calling out some of these guys. Like, she just thinks it's funny. This guy recites Bible verses all day. And she's like, yeah, that guy was in jail for like 15 years for murdering somebody. And that, you know, and now he's out here like crying about murdering babies. And it's just, yeah, it's like obviously just like one of those things you're like, Jesus Christ, like this is insane. And obviously with stuff going on in the States, like they get visits a lot from people out of state where it's illegal. And yeah, it's just insane to see what they have to go through. And I was in shock watching it. I also checked out a short, just came on Netflix, called The Sinners.
I heard a lot of people talking about this, hyping it up before it released on Netflix, strangely enough.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like, if you're into music, it's kind of just like, it's like a bro movie if a really emotional man made it, I guess. Like, it's just like guys just sad looking in a bar, drinking, from all walks of life to like homeless guys, and they basically all start sinning, and they all kind of have a shared experience and share their emotions that they're feeling deep inside by sinning to each other. And they just sing all different kinds of songs. Yeah, it's a lot of like, they're singing like old hymns and soul songs, and the singing's incredible. And I was reading, I guess, the entire cast. It's like people from TikTok and stuff that had gone viral for singing, but it's like one of the guys, like an 80-year-old man that went viral online for just being an incredible singer. So it's just all online older people and a couple young people, but it's like mostly older men. And it was pretty impressive. I thought it was pretty good. I got to check out Blue Moon. This is the one Ethan Hawke is in, and I thought it was pretty good. He's good in it. I can't really say, like, I hate musicals, so I guess I don't really care about, you know, a biopic of the people that make musicals. Like, it's about the guy that was writing partners with the guy that made Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I don't really care about that, but the performances were really good in it. Ethan Hawke's always amazing. And I just like the way they shot it, because this guy's obviously supposed to be super short. So, like, Ethan Hawke just always looks way smaller than everybody else.
Yeah, they did the Lord of the Rings forced perspective sort of shit for the movie, just to make him look small.
I thought it was good. Like, I don't really have anything to rave about it. 4 more that I watched for the Oscars, just quickly. The Smashing Machine, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was amazing. I mean, it's definitely probably acting-wise, the best thing The Rock's been in. And it just kind of reaffirmed to me, I probably just don't want The Rock to act in something like this. I'd prefer his acting to be bad in like an action movie. You know, I think everyone's giving him the credit of like the visual transformation and stuff, but I thought the performance was like still pretty robotic.
I just found like he had so much emotional material to work through in the movie, but he still couldn't cry.
Yeah.
Right? He'd always have to cover up his eyes when he was crying, which
and everyone else I thought was really strange. Good in it.
Yeah.
All those steroids.
Yeah, I did like the music, though. There's great, like, musical selections in it, so I did like the music. The next one I checked out was The Alabama Solution. This was really good. This was nominated for full-length documentary. It's about the Alabama Department of Corrections, basically how corrupt they are. It's very interesting. The documentary is made entirely by prisoners that have snuck cell phones in. So they give video chat interviews like for years. They made this for years. They were basically famous they all went on strike for like 2 weeks and stopped working. That cost the state millions and millions of dollars, because obviously they produce goods for like nothing, essentially. Yeah, I mean, if you're already kind of on that like ACAB train, this is like even worse. It's just these prisons are just like, they flood, there's rats in them, like it's just the guards are all corrupt. It's just like insane. And these are like, they're interviewing guys that are like literally trying to better themselves, like have become lawyers while they're in there. And it's just like, yeah, it just sucks, man. It's just like state oppression and how shitty it is. I did really enjoy that one. I also watched Hamnet. Really enjoyed that. I thought that was good. Yeah, Paul Mescal, just being Paul Mescal. He's good in like anything, I find. I just like him in general.
Yeah, you're a big fan of him.
Yeah.
I mean, I am as well. It's just the Gladiator 2.
I haven't seen that
took
one
him
yet,
back down a peg. That's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought this was good. If you like Shakespeare, this is interesting because it's like, you know, kind of this fan fiction of Shakespeare's life. But I did think it was very good. It was very sad. I teared up. You know, I thought it was very emotional. And then the last thing I'll talk about for the Oscar stuff I watched today, I watched The Lost Bus, which is Matthew McConaughey and his Apple TV movie.
Yeah, this is just like a visual effects.
Yeah, it's just a visual effects, and
right?
that's why. It's not great. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It should be like 90 minutes long. It's based off a true story. It's based off a book about 2018 California fires that at the time were the biggest and deadliest fires in California. It took 85 people's lives. And it's about a bus driver that like saved a bunch of kids. He basically drove them through these fires and, you know, got them out of there. I feel like the whole driving them there made it in real life might have took less than the movie did. And this is like the visual effects Oscar nod. I totally get the fires look incredible. Like it looks real. I know they mixed in like some real footage with CGI and stuff. It did look really good, but story-wise and stuff as a movie, I thought it was not very good whatsoever, like almost lower than mid. And then I'll just talk about kind of the fun I had. So I feel like everyone else, I watched Handsome Devil, Charming Killer, which is like the new Paramount Plus documentary that came out about a guy that went on a killing spree and he went viral on TikTok and Instagram and stuff for like being sexy, and basically had women sending like tens of thousands of dollars of him in prison when he's a literal piece of shit. Like, he just, like, laughs about the fact that sometimes he feels the devil possesses him and he kills women and rapes them. And he's, like, okay with that. It's really just about crazy women on TikTok that defend him, even though, like, even his defense doesn't have a defense for him. They're like, he did it. And women are just like, oh, but he's so attractive. Like, we shouldn't send him to prison. What we should do is send him all of our money so that he can live well in prison. And that he's doing, because they show he's on death row and they show images of him now, and he chunked up a little bit there with all that commissionary money. So I feel like he lost his support. And then a couple watches of things I've never seen. So I saw Earth Girls Are Easy, which I can't believe I've never seen this. This is like a sci-fi musical starring a very early In Living Color Jim Carrey, Damon Wayans, Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis is in this. It came out the same year as Beetlejuice. The cast is nuts, and I love this. I thought it was hilarious. The music was great. It's just super funny.
This looks like a fever dream.
It literally is. It's super bright. It's like, it kind of reminds me of like the brightness of like when Edward Scissorhands is in like in the subdivisions. Neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like all pastel and stuff. It's hilarious. It's about horny aliens essentially. Ooh. And it's super campy, but I really liked it. And I mean, if you like Goldblum and all them, like, they're fantastic in this. It was a 5-star for me. I absolutely loved that. And then I will say I did watch the Cat Williams new stand-up. It was whatever. But my big watch is that everyone at work couldn't believe I hadn't seen, because they were all kids when I was graduating high school. I watched Journey to the Center of the Earth with Brendan Fraser, and then I also watched Journey to the Mysterious Island with The Rock.
The second one, directed by a Newfoundlander.
Yes.
Oh.
And you know what? The first one I thought actually wasn't too bad. I'm not a big Brendan Fraser guy, but I kind of liked it. I was like, if I had saw this when I was a kid, I probably would also have a lot of affection for it. I thought it was fun. It's pretty light. The second one was like a 2.5 star. It's not very good, but I still like, I'd rather watch that than The Smashing Machine. I'd rather watch The Rock in this one. Like, this one at least is like, it's got some jokes, and it's for kids. It would have been a good time. And that's honestly all I have watched. So, with that, let's get into why we chose what we're going to be watching. It was my choice, and I chose Army of Darkness because I just thought, I find I always try to avoid franchise stuff usually because I'm always like, oh, there's so much other stuff for us to talk about, and then I neglect ever getting through franchises on the podcast. And Army of Darkness is just like a childhood memory for me, so I was like, let's have something fun to talk about, and that's honestly why I picked it. And plus, Colton said he'd make sure he came and recorded if I picked this one, so that's why it was my choice.
It is why. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. So with that, why don't we get into the trailer, and we'll be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
It's demonic.
You shall die!
Let's go. It's romantic.
What of all the sweet words that you spoke?
Well, that's just what we call pillow talk, baby. It's like nothing you've ever seen.
Give me some sugar, baby.
From Sam Raimi, director of Evil Dead and Darkman.
Get him!
Comes Army of Darkness.
Groovy.
Rated R.
Army of Darkness was directed by Sam Raimi and written by Sam and Ivan Raimi, and the story is as follows. When Ash is accidentally transported back in time to 1300 AD, he must brandish his boomstick and chainsaw arm to battle an army of the dead and retrieve the Necronomicon in order to return home.
So, is this our first time seeing this, or are we just, I was trying to think of something witty about like a Sam Raimi head, but I didn't really have anything that rhymed or anything. But I mean, are we giant fans of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, and then the Ultimate Spider-Man 3, featuring iconic dance scenes in cinematic history? Colton, is this your first time seeing Army of Darkness?
It is my first time seeing Army of Darkness.
Jesus Christ.
But more importantly, I am a big fan of Spider-Man 1 and 2 by Sam Raimi.
I thought you were going to say
I would
3.
say I'm a bigger fan of those movies than I am the Evil Dead movies, I would think.
Kick them off.
But yeah, this is a first time watch for me. Evil Dead was one of those franchises that I only watched probably, 15 years ago. It was when I was working in a hotel with a buddy of mine, and essentially we just brought in the laptop one night and watched Evil Dead 1 and 2 back to back. And I remember at the time lamenting about how it was like a terrible double feature because the movie is very similar, like other than like tonally and just kind of updating like some of the special effects and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But we never did get around to watching Army of Darkness. So obviously it's been on my watch list for ages. It's kind of one of those things that I definitely should have seen by now. So yeah, I mean, it was a good reason, good excuse to actually check it out. Jill, have you seen Army of Darkness before?
Yeah, I think the last time I watched Army of Darkness was shortly after we reviewed Evil Dead 2 on the show. Was that like a couple years ago?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And I think I'd seen it maybe before then too, but that's the last time I remember watching it. But yeah, I love the Evil Dead movies. A lot of love for Evil Dead 2, and I like the 2013 version a lot as well. So yeah, definitely a franchise for me. And I know Rowan watched this before he watched a Disney movie ever. So tell us about it.
100%. I mean, I've definitely talked about before. I mean, Evil Dead, Sam Raimi, those are our Jesus Christs in our house. Just pictures of Sam Raimi up where you normally have Jesus, essentially. But I mean, yeah, I was raised on Evil Dead. I was raised on Army of Darkness. So I've seen this 800 times. I've owned it in every format. It was a tough decision. I was trying to decide when I was going to watch it for this. Was I going to watch it on VHS or on something else? I did end up going with the 4K because I hadn't checked out the 4K yet, and it looks fantastic always. But yeah, I'd seen this so many times. And with that, why don't we, the portal's open, so why don't we fall down it and give you guys some of that sweet pillow talk, baby. Army of Darkness. We're here.
Army of Darkness. We're here.
So, I mean, I was going to say the first thing, obviously, I have noted is just how I think it's funny, and you've kind of got to be on Raimi's level of the fact that the beginning of this, yet again, we get like the Evil Dead story retold. This is now his third time retelling the story of Linda with a different actress every time, which I think is super funny. But yeah, I just was like, oh, sweet. I like disclosure. It's been a little while since I've seen this one. So I just thought it was kind of funny. I've forgotten that, like, oh yeah, he kind of retells this story all over again. So this is the brief version.
He doesn't want anyone to forget. He did it 3 times.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the remake and whatnot tells large portions of it over again as well. I mean, it's not Sam Raimi, but this is well-trodden territory if you're a horror fan. For me, my first note was that the movie announces itself as Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness, which it's probably suitable for this movie because this movie has so much Bruce Campbell in it.
Yeah.
I think maybe too much Bruce Campbell in it, but it's just like 80 minutes of Bruce Campbell basically being cheesy, campy, winking at the camera the entire time. And I think it's a pretty suitable way to introduce the movie, you know, with Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness.
I think it's very interesting because as much as this is really kind of like an outlier of the original 2, and then like even like the TV show and the remakes and all, you know, everything that's come, I think it's very interesting how this single entry has like colored the entire franchise. Because, you know, we talked about it obviously in year 1, you know, when me and Mike and Exilia did the first Evil Dead. Like, I remember saying, like, I forget how serious the first one actually is and, like, scary. And even though the second one is, like, very comedic, it's still very horror influenced. But this is, like, you know, when you ask anyone about Evil Dead, it's like, oh, Bruce Campbell, all the quips, all the one-liners, the boomstick. But that all comes from this. And that stuff carried on in the TV show. Like, this became, like, the pop culture symbol, the language of Army of Darkness for all of the series, which is funny because, like I said, all the other entries are kind of more serious horror entries than this.
Well, definitely more serious than this, but I do think the second one, obviously, it starts veering in this direction. Like, the second one is a very entertaining, kind of silly horror movie, and this one, in my opinion, kind of completely jumps the shark, where it is very entertaining, but like when I was watching this, I really had to strain to see horror in it really whatsoever, other than there being just skeletons or the occasional deadite in it. Like, this is the sort of thing that a lot of this would be suitable in most fantasy movies, period. You know, there's more horrific monsters in, like, The Lord of the Rings than there is in this movie, for example, or, like, you know, Game of Thrones or something. Obviously, tonally, it's very different than both those movies, but when I was watching it, it was just, this didn't feel very horror to me. It felt more like a celebration of Bruce Campbell and a celebration of, like, Ash, and just kind of, like, reveling in this cheesiness and these quips and, you know, just making something entertaining rather than it even really being much of a horror movie or a horror franchise anymore to me.
I think it's a total genre twist. Like, the Evil Dead 2 became more comedic, less horror, less serious, and now we have another full 180 twist of the franchise. We continue with that comedic tone of Evil Dead 2, but now we mix it with this like 80s, 90s, like you said, fantasy or medieval adventure movie to create this like unhinged hybrid. And I love both strains of movies, so it works for me, and it's just like a fun little anomaly.
Yeah, I think this does something very interesting, which to me almost, I think in a very long scope helps out with it, is like making this third entry very like gateway horror. And I say this because I watched this this morning, like very early. Like I turned it on at like 5 in the morning or something, or 5:30 in the morning. Sorry, because my daughter woke up like literally when it just turned on and she couldn't go back to sleep. So she asked, she's like, "Can I just bring my blanket out here and watch this with you?" And I was like, yeah, sure. And like, she was like scared to death in like half of the parts. I don't necessarily think the comedy really landed for her. I think that's more of a generational type of thing. I don't think, I mean, there's definitely a discussion here, you know, of, I think these guys really wear their influences on their sleeve. Like, there's a lot of like, I kind of got a feeling of like Monty Python, like very like British kind of dry humor. Not just because it's like knights and obviously Holy Grail and all that. But yeah, like, so I just thought it was interesting kind of seeing it through her eyes, that she thought the skeletons, like she thought the deadites, like she thought they were all still very scary. And she was like covering her eyes.
Do you think the movie thinks they're scary though? Because I don't think though. I mean, those skeletons, like, you know, Harryhausen or what is the name of, you know, basically like Clash of the Titans, you know, kind of style of animating all these skeletons on like every second frame, and how goofy they all are, and all of the green screen effects and whatnot. It's admirable in terms of just a production, I guess, of just making something so fun and entertaining. It's just, when I was watching this, it was very much, it was closer to like an Indiana Jones than
100%.
You know, like an Evil Dead movie when I was watching it, based on, you know, having seen every other Evil Dead movie and even, you know, the first season or two of Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Army of Darkness is the last one I've watched. This very much feels like an outlier from the rest of it, other than, you know, some of the tone carrying over, or obviously Ash being such a like over the top character. But when I was watching it, it was just, it was entertaining, and I enjoyed portions of it for sure. It was just as a horror movie when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is very much like I don't know, like just a cheesy fantasy movie.
Yeah, there's less horror than anything else.
Yeah, that's like, even as a kid, I think if I was watching this, I don't know if I would have been scared of it, because I think back to like The Mummy, right? Or the Mummy 2 or Mummy Returns, whatever the second one is called. I remember as a kid thinking The Mummy 2 had some like scary things in it, but even like the scary horror aspects in The Mummy Returns is more horror than this, right? And I understand there's like a 10-year difference between the two, but it's like a tonal thing. I feel like a lot in this movie, they weren't really trying to scare you very often. It was just always like entertaining set pieces, you know, fight sequences. How can Ash get the upper hand on this deadite in a pit with spike walls closing in, you know?
Well, yeah, I think the deadites are probably the only horror element that I think would be scary, like the makeup, like when I forget her name, Sheila, when she becomes a deadite. That's a little bit of a jump scare, and I can see how that would definitely scare a child.
And like obviously in the supermarket at the end, there's some of the deadite possession in there. It's like they're treating it more as like a horror beat at that point, but obviously Ash's heroism and, you know, how he defeats it is so incredibly over the top that, you know, it's like horror for 10 seconds, you know? Yeah.
Well, I will agree that, like, one of the things I do have an issue with this one is, like, the deadites do kind of take a back seat in this, because as you said, Colton, like, it's going for like skeletons and, you know, even Evil Ash, like,
yeah,
I don't really consider him a deadite. Like, this isn't, you know, possessed humans where, you know, they're creepy or whatever. Like, they're just kind of monsters. Even the, like, multi-eyed monster in the pit at the beginning, like, they don't look like traditional deadites. So I was like, it does lose the scariness. And kind of, you know, when you ask, like, I definitely don't think they made this to be scary. I think maybe, you know, for my daughter's age and that stuff, like that, just skeletons inherently to her are scary, right? Like that kind of stuff is scary, but I think it's just like an unintended consequence of that. Now, I would assume, you know, the little I do know about this, like obviously this was the first Universal Evil Dead, like, so Universal stepped in on this and funded this, and part of that process was they wanted this down to a PG-13 because they wanted this to be a hit in the theater and stuff like that, which I think kind of hampered, probably, I would imagine, what Sam Raimi wanted to do. I know, like, his whole idea was this, because his original idea for this was Medieval Dead. That was kind of the concept.
Which is a great title. Yeah.
That would have been a great, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been fantastic. But yet again, like the first one, like the second one, I know also because Universal was in on this, they had a lot of rights issues where they retold the story at the beginning because they couldn't get access to any of the footage from Evil Dead 2. So they had to like retell the story again, you know, be able to do that. And yeah, because, you know, I'm thinking about like kind of, you know, the gore is kind of a signature of this series. And really, other than the pit spitting out that blood, that's pretty much your blood that you're getting there.
Yeah.
And I feel like if maybe Universal wasn't involved in this, or they were willing to give this the R treatment, that, I mean, I'm sure Raimi would have had some awesome gore stuff that he would have been willing to do with this.
That would have been cool.
I think one area where Raimi didn't sacrifice anything in this movie was in the camera work. When I was watching it, it very much still felt like an Evil Dead movie. Like, there's lots of, like, fun things, like following the crossbow bolt through the air, or like, you know, tracking shot on the chainsaw arm spinning around, or stuff like that. But even like the classic Evil Dead running through the forest shots, where whenever I see them, I can just picture like Sam Raimi, or I guess probably the camera op, just running through the forest after people. And it's so goofy to imagine like how they actually filmed those sequences. But they kind of elevate it, or maybe not elevate it, but they tweak it as well. Like, because once again, just fitting like the fantasy epic style, where it's like when the evil's chasing Ash on the horse through the forest and whatnot in this one, where I was like, oh, this kind of feels like epic, almost like these swashbuckling romantic fantasy novels, but it's still like kind of framed in the Evil Dead world. That I really like the weird camera choices in this, or even him falling, right? Just like the green screen cheesy effects of falling into pits and just kind of like, you know, increasing the size of the actor to make it look like they're falling and stuff, or decreasing. It was just a bunch of like cheesy camera stuff in it that it felt very Sam Raimi to me still. So I liked a lot of that stuff, at least stylistically.
Also, one of my favorite scenes, not really so much camera work as it is effects, and I love the effects in this movie, is the graveyard scene, which I love that scene in general because it's so funny when he forgets the words and he's just like fumbling, and then he thinks he's got it, and then the gravestones start like coming out of the ground and they're levitating. I love that effect so much. It's like so cheesy, but I think it looks good, and I think it's also like a really funny scene.
I was going to say, just, you know, in terms of like funny scenes, stuff like that, I always, every time I watch this, it's just crazy because I think about like how much of this is just like some of the most like quotable things on the internet, like that I've just seen my entire life. You know, like I'd written down, like I know like probably one of the most iconic things from this is, you know, like the good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun. Which is like, you know, his line. And then obviously like groovy and, you know, groovy baby, which I don't know, it must be the like late 90s gamer in me. Every time I hear that, I just think about Duke Nukem. So
yeah, same with like Hail to the
that.
King. That's like Duke Nukem energy as well. Yeah.
So then I kept wondering, like, is Duke Nukem just like really just like Doom and Evil Dead mixed into
probably
one? Like, there's got to be an influence there. But yeah, I mean, so much of this, like, this is the one I probably watch the least. But every time I watch it, it's just like a quotable to me. Like, I can literally just like, you know, quote the stuff as it's playing. Like, I love the pillow talk line, and just all of it's funny. And I will say, I remember being a kid, the scene where they're trying to figure out if he can get back home or whatever, and then the boiling water spills at his feet, and then, like, the witch is turned into a deadite or whatever. That used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. I do remember that scene. Like, if anything, even though, like we said, the horror's kind of undercut in this one, like, the Deadites still look fantastic. Like, the makeup for the Deadites has always been on point. Like, I always think it's a scary look for possession stuff. And I also just think it's interesting because not Evil Dead movies, but movies that kind of replicate this, like, possession type of thing. It just really made me think this time about how I base so much of how I want it to look off of Evil Dead movies, because I always just thought they were the scariest looking possessed people.
They are.
This is more of a general question. Maybe it was just an issue with the version I had, but I would say most of this movie sounded like it was dubbed to me. Like there was something off with all the dialogue audio when I was listening to it, where I don't know if it was a mixing thing or it was mixed higher or if a lot of it actually was dubbed, but it was another thing like in the movie that was kind of distracting me stylistically a little bit. Like I mentioned, I liked a lot of the camera work, but obviously when I'm finding the movies a little bit cheesy or that obviously the tone is very silly, then when you hear everyone kind of dubbing their lines, it kind of like keeps snowballing and adding up to like, was this all intentional or is there something actually wrong with this movie? Or it's also like a lot of it in terms of the narrative and whatnot, it just feels like very slight to me, like there's not a whole lot going on. So how was the audio for you guys? Did you guys notice like this dubbing effect?
I didn't, but
no? Okay.
Rowan's nodding his head, so
this is the first time I did kind of notice this. I first really noticed it at the beginning when Henry was talking, where like they would show camera angles where he either A, clearly wasn't talking, but he would like, you could hear him talking, or he was moving his mouth and nothing was like, there was no talking. And I don't know. Now I know I've got the like Scream Factory 4K they put out, and I'd have to watch the other. It comes with like 8 different versions of this, because there's like a TV cut, 4K theatrical cut, there's like an international cut, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what, like, if it was just the theatrical cut that made like the VHSs. Like I probably watch this the most on VHS, and I mean, VHS, the quality might just be bad enough that you don't notice that stuff necessarily.
Yeah, it just felt too clean to me the entire time, where it seemed like it wasn't recorded on set a lot of the time. Like it was just something like, once again, just kind of standing out a little bit to me, kind of distracting me a bit.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And I was going to say too, to your point, that I thought also on kind of this more critical watch, like the story is pretty light. I was like, because it's not like this is an insanely long movie.
No.
But it just really doesn't seem like this is only 81 minutes long. And I was like, man, this feels like there's like 40 minutes of anything.
Yeah. When I was watching this, it very much felt like to me that this movie was 2 hours long and it was edited down to something short. Yeah. But now I think it might just be like the other way, where there maybe just wasn't enough material to make up a full 2-hour movie, or I don't know. I know nothing about the production of this, right? This isn't a franchise that is like near and dear to my heart, that I'm very, well read on. But when I was watching it, it just very much felt like there wasn't enough here to make a full movie, and then kind of pointing to the runtime of where it's only 81 minutes, where, you try and at least push to like 90 or something most of the time. It just kind of like all adds up to, I don't know if there was a whole lot here. And there's sequences in the movie, for example, where like Ash is tied up by all the little ashes, and then there's the other Ash. Like that sequence goes on for like probably like 6-7 minutes. And when I was watching it, I was like, this is so unnecessary to be so protracted and dragged out, unless it's just you're trying to fill screen time, or it's just like, well, we really want to revel in the silliness of this all. But it goes on for so long that like as a first time viewer for me, I was just like, man, I'm bored with this like Gulliver's travel ass shit that's going on
the
here.
Lilliputians.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. That was like the moment of the movie for me, where I was starting to feel that there's too much Bruce Campbell in this movie, which is kind of sacrilegious to say.
There's like several Bruce Campbell.
Exactly, right? There's literally like 6 little Bruce Campbells running around, and there's the big Bruce Campbell, and there's like the evil Bruce Campbell afterwards. It's just, there's too much Bruce Campbell in this movie, and I don't think the movie had anything else to show for it other than just following around Bruce Campbell, who's obviously fun to follow around. And
so I don't
character
agree.
He's playing is very entertaining. You don't agree? Okay.
Well, okay, no. I agree and I disagree. I agree that there's a lot of Bruce Campbell, but I don't know. It works for me. I just enjoy watching him. It's like never exhausting. It's never too much, even though like 90% of the movie is that like silly, like he's just doing his like quips and little zany like slapstick scenes. Yeah, I don't know. That's like when I'm really interested in the movie, because That's like one of the things I really like about Evil Dead 2, and they kind of do like different things here. One other scene I really like too is the battle scene, like the castle siege scene. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that, especially for Rowan, since he hates Lord of the Rings, and this is so Lord of the Rings coded.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer this probably over Lord of the Rings, but I mean, I think one of the real issues, especially when we get to the castle raiding scene, is, and this is, it's gonna, I'm gonna warn people now, like after we talk about this, it's really hard for me to separate like my nostalgia of this and like how many times I've seen this, kind of till where I was like actually looking at it with like this critical eye this time. But I felt kind of like Colton, like by the time we got to this castle raid, I'm like, fuck, this seems like this movie's been going on for a while.
I was ready for it to be over as well. I checked and I was like, God, there's still 15 minutes left of this. I know there can't be anything of substance happening here, you know?
Well, and it's just, to me, it's like there's lots of great gimmicks. Like, obviously, I love when he brings the car out and all this stuff.
Of course, but you know, it's fun. But...
yeah, it's fun. But even this, kind of like Colton was talking about with the windmill scene and everything, like, I was like, this is a long time to spend in this like castle siege, and it's a lot of the same stuff, like a lot of the same kind of comedy beats of like these skeletons getting stabbed, or like, you know, all the, like, there's only so much humor you can put into it. I really do wonder, like, if they didn't kind of have 3 or 4 things where they're like, well, wouldn't this be funny if, you know, he did go back into that page of the Necronomicon that says he was, you know, this prophet, and like, here's some scenes that would be funny, but there wasn't like an actual story.
It's a very basic structure for the plot, yeah. So it's hard to like flesh it out a
Yeah,
lot.
because it just seemed to me, like, as Colton said, it was like, you know, like, I believe Sam Raimi in his mind before they made this had the like all the mini ashes and do all that. But then like as they blew this out into a larger movie, it's like, well, it's got to be this long, and like, so we need to like do some fill in here, because I find too, like, I don't really want to spend, like, I like, you know, the Evil Ash thing can be funny, but like, I don't want to spend any overtime. Like, I don't need to know Evil Ash like running his army and all this kind of thing. And to me, it's just, that's kind of where it like fails me a bit.
Yeah, for me, obviously, when I was watching it, I kept thinking of Helm's Deep, and this is well before Helm's Deep, and it's on a lesser scale for sure. But as a fantasy fan, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I was just like, oh, this is quaint and fun and silly. Don't know why it's in an Evil Dead movie. And I guess it's not in an Evil Dead movie. It's in Army of Darkness. It doesn't use the Evil Dead title. But it was like, as I was watching it, there's obviously those expectations. And it was just all feeling long for me. I'm sorry. It's just there's not enough meat here, in my opinion, other than just Bruce Campbell being charming. And there's some good one-liners. And you know, fun camera work that I like laugh at every now and then. Like, other than that, there wasn't a whole lot here as a first-time viewer to really like keep me entertained and grab my attention. This was literally, I put it on last night at like, I don't know, 9:00. And I was like starting to doze off as I'm watching this. You know, it was like, I found it like so boring, just in terms of like, there wasn't anything to sink my teeth into at all. Like, there wasn't anything to keep me going other than like, you know, Bruce Campbell just hamming it up, which is fun. And a lot of the little scenarios in this movie are fun as well. Like when, you know, when he goes to the 3 Necronomicons and one got like a black hole in it and distorts his face, and the other one starts trying to eat him and attack him. That shit's fun for sure. It's just, it's not really substantive. It's like, you know, we all know Ash is going to survive this movie. We all know where this movie's going the entire time. And even Sam Raimi is like trying his best to make it like a feature length film that, you know, when I was watching it, I was just like, this could have been a very fun episode of Ash versus the Evil Dead for 43 minutes. And I would have been like, that was all right, you know. And even at 80 minutes, that's kind of my reaction to when I was watching it. I was just like, oh, it's all right. But for me, I don't think it'd be something that I would return to very often.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the other issue too, and we've kind of brought it up a couple times now, is like, I just think the comedy works better in the second Evil Dead than it does in this. Because, and I think it is that balance, right? Of, you know, it's very hard to have a balance of horror and comedy, and I think that did it better than this one. And, you know, I won't deny, like, I think this is like this one is hugely influential to everything we see in like horror comedies even now. So, but yeah, I think the second one definitely did it a little better. I did take note as I was looking, like, I don't know if you guys looked at any, even just like I saw it was on IMDb. There were some featurettes on the stuff, but I did see like in the original draft, this was like a very different movie where like, I popped it up so I can just read what it said. Like, so in the original draft, they planned on Ash losing an eye in it so that he'd lose an arm and an eye, which I feel like is a shame because they could have went to some real comedy there with one eye.
I'm okay without that. I hate eye stuff. He's so gross.
But so the original draft didn't go into medieval times until the second half, and which this kind of makes sense where we're like, it doesn't seem like there's enough material here, especially if they only planned for that to be half of the movie. But what makes this not only amazing tidbit of fact and information for everybody is what they wanted to do with the first half, which to me is meta comedy gold, which is their plan was, since Universal was backing them, they wanted to recap Evil Dead 1 and 2 all over again and do it a third time.
No.
Give it up. Oh my God.
They apparently, so Raimi said their plan was it would have also shown more of Ash's personal life, such as college and working at S-Mart. But so Raimi didn't think Universal would fund a sequel to a low-budget indie film. So he planned on making this a standalone partial remake. But then when Universal greenlit it and said, no, we want a straight-up Evil Dead sequel, they basically scrapped everything and were like, we got to do the cabin in the woods quickly and then get into like something into this, essentially. I'm just saying, I think I want the original because I think it would be hilarious to the third time do it all over. I think they should have just went on every entry just relitigating the first movie.
That's unhinged.
Yeah, that would have been torture to me. I mean, this movie already feels like it was just made by a bunch of people like doing too much cocaine, and doing the first movie for a third time to occupy like 30 minutes of screen time would have been, I don't know, maybe it would have worked, but it just kind of goes to show that I don't think there was a very concrete idea for this movie going into it. And I think it was very much relying on just Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell. And like I said, he's very good at doing the Ash character for sure, and he is entertaining. It's just there needs to be more than just him winking at the camera for 81 minutes or whatever it is.
I will say, I think mentioning like his life at S-Mart and stuff, I really enjoyed that scene. I would have liked to have seen more of that, honestly, to flesh it out.
Like the ending scene of the movie at S-Mart, or
yeah, and there's like earlier on
little,
too. Yeah,
interstitial there. Yeah.
I used to have when I lived in Newfoundland, I had a sick. I paid like $80 for it, but I bought like a replica of Ash's S-Mart shirt. I used to wear it all the time. Yeah, I loved it. I did think it was interesting with this also, because, you know, I remember when we talked about the first and even the second one, like, we talked about how what made Evil Dead, like, so interesting was this, like, reversal of, like, the final girl and Ash being the final girl, but, like, kind of having the traits of a final girl, like falling everywhere and like obviously like very clumsy and stuff. So I just think it's like very interesting that this kind of like like, even though he's still stupid, he's like very traditionally like masculine hero in this, which I mean, obviously, you know, I think Raimi's smart enough that they're poking fun at it, and you know, that when this comes out, we're kind of getting towards that end of, you know, the 80s action hero, and Stallone and all these guys. Like, I just think it's interesting that they decided to flip it for this one, and it's like, oh, he's not really a final girl in this. He's just kind of like stupid action star, Ash in this one.
Yeah, he's just like a fantasy bodice ripper sort of character. Like, you'd literally see him on one of those cheap fantasy novel covers that you'd see at like the airport or something, right?
My mom reading.
His chest hair, out and just, embracing somebody in a kiss. I mean, the movie ends in kind of that image, evoking those old Harlequin romance fantasy novels.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of that was intentional in the movie.
Yeah, he is charming. He's a heartthrob.
Always.
It's that chainsaw hand.
Which I will say I did love that scene, like when he's building the mechanical hand. I thought it was hilarious. Really reminded me of like Terminator 2 or something. But I just thought it was funny because, I'm like, there's no way. Ash isn't that smart. He wouldn't figure out how to build this mechanical hand with medieval instruments.
I'm glad he retains his stupidity and he never changes, never learns, never grows. Honestly, I'm not being snarky. I don't want him to become smarter because it's fucking funny to watch him just fumble.
Well, and what's really sad is as I reflected after I just had that whole conversation about this informing Ash and people's thoughts of Evil Dead, I'm pretty sure this movie also informed just Bruce Campbell in every role ever after this. I'm thinking about Bubba Hotep and The Man with the Screaming Brain, anything that's got even television. He was in a multi-season show called Burn Notice that was a detective show that he's the comedic character in it. And all of his characters are just Ash, essentially. It's just kind of like a bumbling idiot that thinks he's smart, overconfident, and has one huge chin.
Yep, that's it.
Shit out. I have read his book. If you've never read his book is fantastic. The biggest chin in Hollywood.
Bigger than Jay Leno? Come on.
I think it's from the 90s, the book. He put it out mid-late 90s. It's very interesting, though, especially if you're into filmmaking, because it's a lot about him and the Raimis growing up and just how they made Evil Dead, essentially, and kind of going forward with that. I thought it was interesting, alternate endings for this. Obviously, we get the S-Mart ending, which I also, Jill, love. I think it's fantastic. I wish I could have a whole movie of just him doing monotonous work at S-Mart, just living life. But as I said, they had the original idea where it would only be half of the movie. The original ending was Ash just sleeps, and it says Ash sleeps too long and wakes in a ruined future. So he just basically misses everything and just the future's dead. The future's ruined, which to me may also be just as funny to go with the bumbling idiot thing in some apocalyptic deadite world.
That would be cool. I'd be down. Sign me up.
Wouldn't. He's shaking his head.
No, I'm shaking my head. I actually do like the S-Mart ending as well. And I think maybe rather than telling the first movie over again for the third time, I think I would have just liked to see what Ash looks like after these other movies, what he experienced in the cabin in the woods, working at S-Mart, having a very boring, regular life, and then through some other flight of fancy, he falls into this fantasy world, and then you have very much the split of boring S-Mart live with quirky characters to then this fantastical life. Maybe even in S-Mart they have some of those old, bodice ripper fantasy novels in there, sort of thing, kind of pointing to what the movie's going to become, but before you actually get into the fantasy world. Because I did really like the ending. I thought it was a solid, fun, stupid ending for what we watched. I'm glad that it didn't just end in the fantasy world.
I am kind of curious. I guess I'm posing, a question to you two, where, I'm curious because obviously this is a massive cult film. This is just an iconic cult film. And I feel we all have kind of, we're all pretty agreeable that we're this isn't the best Evil Dead in the whole series. Do you think it's just the real goofy tone of it being that cult? Is that the only thing it really has going for it, is like the quips and stuff? Because, you know, I think, you know, and you did say, Colton, like, I like the special effects work in it. I think it adds a charm and stuff like that. But as I said, I still, to me, I think Evil Dead 2 works better. I think Evil Dead works better. So it's just kind of interesting that I still feel like this, like maybe it's just me, but I feel like this might almost eclipse those two in like a general thought of like a general audience. Like I feel like more people might connect with this than like, especially the original Evil Dead, which I feel is like wildly underrated. I feel like 2 and this are like the big ones when people talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I do think usually people like 2 or they like this. It's, you know, or definitely prefer one or the other tonally. In terms of like cult status, I could see this being like a fun midnight watch, especially if you were appealing to like a younger demographic as well, like wanting basically parents to be able to bring their 7-year-old kids. Don't get me wrong, there's loads of parents that would let their like 7-year-old watch Evil Dead 2 as well. It's just like in a theatrical view. Yeah, exactly. But in like a theatrical viewing experience, I could see that this would basically appeal to a wider audience and, you know, be maybe a little bit easier for like the audience to quip along and talk along with it as they're watching it. But I don't know, like when I hear people talk about this franchise, like most people like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
The most, like unequivocally, like that is like the one that they feel like it balances the horror and the humor just right.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like a masterpiece. And then some people do really like this, but it's kind of like its own thing. Kind of like what I've been arguing for a lot of it. It just feels very different.
Maybe I'm hanging out with the wrong crowd. Maybe that's what's going on here. So not the kind of people you should hang out with, obviously.
Yeah, on a horror podcast, we prefer the horror installment of this franchise.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
So, do you guys have any other notes about this, or are you comfortable going into rating it?
I got nothing.
Looking at Jill.
Okay, I'm good.
Well, why don't we land the plane? We've talked plenty about Army of Darkness and get into rating it. If you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Colton, let's start with you. What would you rate 1992's Army of Darkness?
Yeah, first time watch for me, as I said, and I feel like I've let my opinions on this movie be known probably 3 times now as we've had this discussion. For me, it's just one of those things that we're a horror podcast. When I was watching this, I didn't find it really to be much of a horror movie. I think that the humor and kind of like the action fantasy entertainment, it worked at least for a little bit, that I did enjoy it. It kind of overstayed its welcome, and it winds up veering into like being too ridiculous and too slight of a movie in terms of like what is actually happening in the narrative and the plot to really maintain my attention. I do think Bruce Campbell's good. I do think there's some fun gags or some moments, like, as you know, like the ending, as we mentioned at S-Mart. But overall, this was definitely weaker than a lot of the Evil Dead entries for me. So for our horror podcast, I would give it an okay. It was entertaining, but, you know, probably pretty forgettable for me outside of a couple of key quips. Jill, what are you giving this one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a little bit more. It's hard for me too, because the second one is so iconic, Evil Dead 2, so much more horror, and it's funny, and what I like about Army of Darkness is it has things that I liked from Evil Dead 2. So obviously Evil Dead 2 is just much better movie. I have to look at this one as kind of a standalone and try not to associate it too much with the other Evil Dead movies, because I do really respect the fact that they're just like, you know what, to hell with it. We're just going to go with this crazy unhinged idea of transporting to the past, and Ash is just an idiot, and he resurrects this army of deadites, and he has to fight them to get back. I just think it's fun. I think it's funny. I love Bruce Campbell. He's very charming, like I said. Another thing I liked about this movie I didn't really mention is I'm a big sucker for like intentional anachronisms in movies, especially like time travel, like Dark Shadows. I really love, you know, like a vampire just like waking up at present time, just not knowing how the world works. I thought it was funny when Bruce Campbell was just kind of like showboating is like showboating like, you know, his car or the chainsaw, or he's like making funny remarks to these people in the Middle Ages who do not understand really anything that he's talking about, but they just kind of go along with it. So I think that's really funny as well. So yeah, it's a yay for me. Not as fun as Evil Dead 2, not as good as Evil Dead 2, but it's still a fun time. How do you rate it, Rowan?
Yeah, so like I said, it was interesting watching this with a more critical eye, because I've always been a fairly big fan of this one. One thing I didn't bring up is, like, you know, I talk about kind of comfort movies for me. This is still a comfort movie for me. I mean, I have said plenty of times, like in my bedroom, I have a VHS player. I've got a VCR. And like, this is one that I put on all the time if I'm just like something that I've seen that I can just kind of fall asleep to, and I'm not like, you know, it doesn't matter if I fall asleep or not because I know what's going on. This is a classic. I watch this, you know, whenever I'm doing a rewatch Evil Dead. But like I said, this isn't one like Evil Dead 2 or Evil Dead 1 or even like, you know, the 2013 remake, like one that I just like put on just to, because it's a slammer. But the nostalgia is pretty heavy with this. And also, I mean, I've seen this with my mother plenty of times. Like, I have a lot of good, like, family memories tied to this. So I'm going to settle on, like, a yay, but it's a very, like, light yay. Some days it could kind of drift into, like, an okay for me. I appreciate everything it kind of did for horror comedies. I just think, yeah, I think, as we said, Evil Dead 2 might be a better example for me. I think Evil Dead 2 is a funnier movie at the end of the day, but also a scarier movie. So for a horror movie, and as you guys said, for a horror movie podcast, Evil Dead 2 just hits kind of that right happy medium. All I know is we gave it 2 yays and an okay. But with that, we told you what we thought about it, and we asked you what you thought about it, and we had some answers. Over on Slasher, we had Horror Hound right, and he said, slay. Evil Dead series has no misses. I mean, honestly, I think that's probably the popular opinion. People that love Evil Dead fucking love Evil Dead, and they ride for it super hard. Chatterer's safe word also says slay. Like Horror Hound said, Evil Dead hasn't missed. It's like wine. It gets better with age. So another slay. We are not in line with the people.
We're going to have some upset fans.
That's right. And lastly, we have Little Aid, and they said slay. There's no such thing as a bad Evil Dead movie or show. So yeah, 3 slays over there.
I mean, I do agree with them that I don't think any of them are bad. I just wouldn't go so far to give them a slay.
100%. I would say that is correct. And then I figured I would just bring up, we had a couple comments that weren't about Evil Dead, but people had just written in late about stuff. And, you know, I got to make sure you have your opinions heard. So someone had commented about Pulse, and their name, I feel like I will brutalize this. And if you listen to the podcast, that's what you want. You want Rowan to try to mispronounce your name like I do everyone. Mashiro Kawamata, I believe.
Nailed it. Almost good as your pronunciation earlier in the episode of Necro Comic Con.
Oh, Necro Comic Con. Yeah, that's where you go. Did I say that?
He did.
Nice.
I didn't point it out.
I'm dead.
But they had some suggestions for us, which we always appreciate, about other Japanese horror movies that would be fun to hear us talk about. So they said, you know what film would be good to hear opinions on? 2010's Hell Driver. And they said a great example of Japanese horror. They also posted pictures of, I believe, their DVD copies of all these movies. So nice. Shout out to them. They said, or maybe even 964 Pinocchio from 1991. Then they said perhaps even its spiritual prequel, Rubber's Lover, 1996. I haven't heard of any of these. So, that always excites me when you give us suggestions of things I've never heard of. So
yeah, I think I may have heard of 964 Pinocchio before, but the other ones are new to me.
Well, we'll have to think about that. We'll have to put it in the old brain. And then lastly, Tripesta Cosplay wrote on Instagram, and they just said a bit delayed, but wanted to wish the podcast a belated anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We always appreciate that. So yeah, with that, we do have 2 voicemails. Why don't we go to Whorehound Nicholas first? Because I feel like, he's the OG. So
He earned that.
So yeah, let's go over and see what Nicholas has to say.
Okay, so Army of Darkness. What a fun watch. It's really cool. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of humor. Bruce Campbell is playing his role as usual. It's super fun to watch. It is a breath to get through. And I love looking at the, a bit dated effects, but they manage. And I think actually
they're fun.
The datedness, if that is a word, of the effects is actually what makes them, so entertaining to look at, just as with the first Evil Dead movies, which probably also brings me to my biggest criticism of the film, and probably the reason that Army of Darkness for me is just a yay, not a slay, is that it just pales for me in comparison to especially Evil Dead 2. So the first Evil Dead, I think, is brilliant in what they were able to do with basically no budget. And the second Evil Dead movie is just this great combination of humor and horror, of splatter and slapstick. And Army of Darkness is a bit lacking in the horror and in the gore department. So there are very few splatter scenes at the beginning with a well and a nice blood fountain. But other than that, it is more this medieval adventure with the occasional scary, spooky skeleton being somewhere. It is, again, very entertaining, but not a straight-up horror movie anymore. It's action-oriented, adventure-focused, and has a few very, very funny moments. I'm more than happy to admit that. But, again, it doesn't really... it stands out from the other two, and that makes it special in its own case, but it is not what I would have wished for the continuation of Evil Dead 2 to be like.
Yeah.
However, I can't imagine Army of Darkness being a grimier, more splattery movie, because that would ruin the movie. I don't know. I'm in some kind of contradiction here myself. I know that. It is a strong yay for me. I think it's a really entertaining movie. I just love Evil Dead 2, and this is not Evil Dead 2. I hope you understand what I mean by that. Anyways, just one question. I know there are different endings to the movie, especially considering how it moves over into the TV show, if you've seen that. So if you haven't discussed it, which ending have you seen? And have you seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, so the TV show? And a few thoughts on that, maybe? Anyways, cool pick, and hear from you in the next episode.
Yeah, have any of us seen Ash vs. the Evil Dead?
I haven't. It's on my list.
I
have, yeah.
I believe, the first season and a half, maybe 2 seasons if the second one was very short. I can't remember. It's been some years now since I watched it. I believe that was when I was living in Toronto almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I've seen all 3 seasons. I actually recently just bought all 3 seasons because I wanted to rewatch it. But I remember it's been a while. I haven't seen it since it came out. I was watching them as they came out, but I remember really liking it. I thought they kind of got the tone and the horror. They struck that balance really well. And obviously where it was a Starz production, they could be a little more edgier than you could be if you were on just a normal network television. And I thought Bruce Campbell ripped in that one also.
Yeah, from what I remember, I would agree. I definitely enjoyed the show from what I've seen. It's just, I can't remember how much of it I watched. I know I didn't finish it, that's for sure. I didn't watch season 3, I don't believe.
And to answer the other question too, I brought up there was other endings also that they had even thought about that they didn't film, but I don't know. I like this ending. I think the S. Martin ending is like good. It's one of the stronger parts, I thought, of the movie. It's one of my favorite scenes. So
yeah, I'd be inclined to agree, and I'm not read up on the movie well enough to know all the different, endings that were on the table.
So we have another voicemail. I made a big promise and I had to come through. We got Mama Fraser to call in. I knew she wouldn't say no. As I said, Army of Darkness Evil Dead is a very sacred thing in the Fraser family. So let's go over see what my mom has to say, and hopefully it's not too embarrassing.
Hello everybody, it's Rhonda Fraser dropping in to talk about Army of Darkness. Now, there's lots of trilogy references in this movie, and we all know that the third in a trilogy is often not the best. The Necronomicon, I'm saying it made it pretty clear that the third choice, while it might have been the right choice, it was the toughest choice. Army of Darkness, for me, I love it. I love it because it takes me to Monty Python. It takes me to Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber. It takes me to Beetlejuice, all things I love. And I love all things Evil Dead. So I love it, even though it is third in the trilogy. And I'm just saying. I do have to mention, and I want you to ask Rowan about this because he can give it some more context. The ledges. There are way too damn many ledges in this movie for me. My worst nightmare is a ledge. Somebody falling off the ledge. And now I know that's Bruce Campbell's fault.
That's such a mom.
Also have to talk about all the tiny little ashes and the double-headed Ash. I love the references with Ash, with Sheila, with the good part of you, the bad part of you. And, there's more that could be said. Too much of it would be so politically incorrect and just so incorrect in so many ways that I'm not going to go deeper with that. I will just mention the opening line. My name is Ash and I'm a slave. I think the tone deafness starts there and continues on throughout the movie. Watching this in 2026, little different experience than watching it in 1992. Again, can't take it too seriously, wasn't meant to be taken seriously, and I do love all things Evil Dead, or as Rowan Fraser used to say, I love the Evil Dead.
Oh,
so I'll leave it
Lord.
at that. I do love it, and Rowan will tell you more about the ledges if you want to know more.
I do want to know more, so fess
up. Do we want to know more about these ledges?
It's kind of exactly what it sounds like. Our whole family makes fun of her. She's like, you can literally be like 20 feet away from a ledge, and she's like all cringed up, like, oh my God, look out for that ledge. Like, don't lean up against that. You'll be like, you're on a dock or something, and like you're just nowhere near falling. And she's like, oh my God, what if they fall? And she's just always been like that. So we always, everyone just mercilessly makes fun of her.
She's so cute. Yeah. I love her.
It wasn't as embarrassing as I was worried about. I really made sure I didn't listen to it, so.
Evil Dead.
Yeah, I should have.
Dead.
Evil Dead. That'll be the tagline. Welcome to Evil Dead.
And if you want to be like Nicholas or Rowan's mom, Rhonda, you can send us a voicemail at It Slays Podcast or at itslaispodcast@gmail.com, I believe is the email address.
Yes.
Or on any of our socials at It Slays Podcast. And if you're not following us there, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky, TikTok. Basically, if there's a social media, we're probably there at It Slays Podcast. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Mark, Steven, Dan, Brian, Trevor, James, and Philip, I might have to swap around the Jameses at some point because it's
we need
crazy having
we need like last names or something, or
James squared. I don't know, but then I don't.
OG James is what he said last time.
James and OG James. Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Sure.
And then Philip Bailey, my father, signing up on Patreon. I don't want to rub salt in the wound, but someone's dad isn't a horror hound anymore, and I don't know if that projects the kind of love they have for their son, but I mean, it is what it is.
That's it. Maybe my mom and Carvey should repledge as horror hounds, but either way, we appreciate all the support from those.
Of course.
And if you are a horror hound, you'll also gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Jill. Did it make its triumphant return afterwards? It did? Okay, all right.
It did. And I will say, Jill has been like taunting about maybe letting go of an episode for the general public just to get a little taste to see what they're missing. So we might end up doing that.
Is that a good idea?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
And you'll also get episodes of the main show 48 hours early, once in a blue moon, when Rowan remembers to do it. And if you want all those benefits, you can head on over to patreon.com/itslays podcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Rowan, we didn't mention music at all when it comes to this movie, but go ahead and plug the playlist.
Yeah, I feel like nothing's probably making this. Mostly any music in this is like, as you so eloquently stated, it's basically just Indiana Jones music and like action adventure music. But you can go over to the It Slays podcast horrific playlist on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media that Colton just mentioned, go in the bio, click the Linktree link, and there's a button that'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. We update it regularly, so go follow it and get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? So all that is left is to announce our upcoming episode. And it is no one's pick, because it is, I would say, most horror podcasts, the most important holiday on their schedule is Halloween. They build their whole year around it. We do it a little different over here. I'd say our most important holiday involves green. It involves love and care.
And limericks.
Oh.
I should have had a limerick to promote this.
Slacking.
I'm slacking. But yes, it is going to be St. Patrick's Day, and we are coming back. And this episode, I gave you the Rhonda Fraser. I'm trying to at least get you like a 10-second Exilia Fraser doing the leprechaun voice. Yeah, because why not? We'll see if I can convince her to do it. But yes, not only are we going back to Leprechaun, but we're going back to the hood. This is one that Colton's just been waiting for.
God.
Leprechaun.
I don't know what I'm getting myself into with this one.
Leprechaun Back to the Hood. That's where we'll be going. Get it into your eyeballs, and we will be back in 2 weeks. As always, thank you for all the support. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
I'm Colton.
Bye, it's Jill.
See you later.